Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. As you can tell from the title of this video, I have one more Mercury Retrograde palette dupe here today. As far as I'm concerned, this is going to be the last one unless they release anything new in the future. I found this one when I was looking for Mercury Retrograde dupes on Amazon, and I was really surprised to find this because I have never heard about this brand before. It's called Cmaduu Mercury Retrograde palette, and when I was first looking at online, I saw this outer packaging and I mean it looked alright. I paid something about £5 or £6 for it. I don't remember exactly. It was coming from China, so it took quite a long time for it to arrive, and when it did, I was really surprised because this was literally the cheapest thing I have ever seen. It's not even cardboard, it's like this foamy packaging, a little bit similar to the Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes, just a billion times worse. As you can see, the Huda Beauty picture is on the inside of the packaging, so you don't get a mirror or anything with this. Guess it's just really easy to advertise it like this. As you can see, the shades are in the exact same order as in the original palette, and they are called the exact same thing. I don't know anything about this brand. I'm pretty sure it's a Chinese brand, but from what I can see, they are pretty much just starting out because, I mean, they must, because this packaging is just so bad. I don't think any company that has any self-respect would put out an eyeshadow palette like this. As I said, it was made in China. It contains 18 grams of product, which means 1 gram per pan, and it has 24 months shelf life. On the other hand, the Mercury Retrograde palette was made in Italy, just like all other Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes. It has 24 months shelf life. It retails for £58, which is Huda's most expensive eyeshadow palette so far, and it contains only 16.1 gram of product, which is almost 10 gram less than she put in the Desert Dusk palette, which was cheaper than this. So I feel like her eyeshadow palettes cost more and more, but you actually get less and less value for your money. I'm gonna very quickly include the swatches I made for you. As you can see, I put the Huda Beauty shades on the bottom row and the Cmaduu shades on the top row as always. I must say that the matte shades weren't so bad. However, the shimmery shades had this typical gluey feel to them, so I actually felt like I'm not gonna get anything out of this palette when I apply them to the eyes. And well, I have to say that the texture of the shimmery shades is completely different than what you get in the Huda Beauty palette. So the Huda Beauty palette contains all sorts of different textures. Some of the shimmery shades are more glittery, some of them are more velvety, and some of them are duochrome. On the other hand, the Cmaduu palette has the exact same texture for all of the shimmery shades. They are not really shimmery, they just have a sort of sheen to them. Another thing to mention is that to achieve this eye makeup look today, I had to use an extra shade from the dupe palette to balance out a shade that wasn't exactly the same in the two eyeshadow palettes. So I wouldn't say that I'm blown away. However, it is actually not as bad as I initially thought. As I showed you before, this packaging is absolute rubbish. I have never seen an eyeshadow palette this bad, but the eye makeup look I created with it is really not that bad. It's definitely not my favorite dupe, but it's not bad at all, which really makes me question why did I spend £58 on this Huda Beauty palette when literally some random company that can't even put a packaging together properly can give me almost exactly the same eyeshadow look. I think this is gonna be forever up for debate to decide if an eyeshadow palette is worth the money or not. I think at the end of the day, if it was worth it for you and it made you happy and you had the money for it, then it was worth it. But for me personally, I find that 99% of the times makeup is really overpriced and overhyped, and I more and more gravitate towards drugstore makeup, to be honest, because I feel like high-end makeup is just a higher price point, but most of the times not better quality. Nevertheless, back to the makeup, I created this eye makeup today using the dupe palette, and I think it turned out all right. Obviously the other one was created using the Huda Beauty palette. It's not the first time that I've used that palette, so I wasn't surprised about the performance of that one at all, but I was really pleasantly surprised about the dupe palette, I must say. Without further ado, I'm just gonna jump right into the application. I will show you how I created this eye makeup look, and I will talk in detail about each shade I used and what I thought about them. And once we're done creating this makeup look, I will come back here and I will tell you my final thoughts about these two palettes. As always, I'm going to be using the more expensive palette on this side of the face, which is today going to be the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. And the more affordable palette on this side of the face, which is today going to be the Cmaduu Mercury Retrograde palette. To start with, I'm going to take the shade Hot Mess and add it to the crease. And like I said before, every single shade is called the same name in this palette, and they are also in the same position. So we're going to take Hot Mess from the dupe palette now. So far it looks more red toned than the other one. The other one has more purple in it. And unfortunately it suffers the same dupe palette disease, that they grab to the bare skin, but they quite impossible to build up. So again, with this shade you can see that it's literally the same opacity all over. So I'm gonna need to try to work out the edges and try to remove some of that color, because right now it looks a bit funny. So far it's pretty much on par with the other dupe palettes. The next shade I take is going to be Vortex, and I'm taking it on a pencil brush and apply it to the outer V. This application doesn't need to be perfect, as we are going to be doing a cut crease, so we're pretty much just placing down this shade here. We're gonna work on it later. So now I'm gonna repeat the same thing with the dupe palette. I am getting some fallouts, but I find the performance of the matte shades in this palette quite good so far. Of course, I only tried two yet, so that's not a final verdict, but it's quite a positive surprise considering what I expected based on looking at the palette. Alright, I'm gonna go quickly off camera and I'm gonna prepare the cut crease, and then I'm gonna be back and we're gonna apply the next shade. Okay, well, this is probably not the best cut crease of my life, but oh well, we're just gonna move on. The next shade I'm gonna take all over this cut crease is going to be Nebula, and this is quite honestly my favorite shade from this palette. Even though it has a lot of fallout, it's a gorgeous shimmery glitter shade. I would say it's a blue with a purple hue to it, absolutely gorgeous. The application is super messy, but it's 100% worth it in my opinion. Now we're taking the same shades from the dupe palette. As you can see, this one looks a lot darker, so I'm not sure if it's gonna apply the same or not. Nevertheless, this is the shade we're gonna use on the dupe side. On my brush as well, it looks a lot darker. and it's not shimmery at all basically. It has a bit of sheen to it, but it's definitely a completely different color. It's been going so well. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad color. I actually quite like it. It's just, it's not the same as the other side. Okay, so the two sides are clearly very, very different right now. So I'm gonna try my best to even that out. On the dupe side, I'm gonna add some of the shade Supermoon on top of the shade we just applied and see if that can brighten it up a little bit to make it more similar to the original side. Well, it's not perfect, but it made a huge difference. Now I'm gonna go back and work the outer corner a bit more. For that, I'm gonna take some more of the shade Vortex and basically just start working the shade Nebula into Vortex and create a nice transition between the two shades. And now taking the same shade on the dupe side as well. And we're pretty much done. I'm gonna go off camera now. I'm gonna apply my face makeup and also some eyeliner and mascara. And when we're done with all of that, we're just gonna add a couple more shades under the eye and in the inner corner, and then we're done. Okay, we're almost done. Under my eye, I'm gonna take Hot Mess. Same shade on the dupe palette side. And I'm gonna take some of Supermoon in my inner corner. And again Supermoon on the dupe side. And that is the finished look. It's actually really not as bad as I thought it was going to be. When I did the arm swatches, I was really underwhelmed, and obviously the packaging is really, really cheap, so I basically had zero hopes for this palette, but it's actually really not that bad. So if you have no other option, you could totally try and recreate some of the makeup looks that you can see on the internet using the Mercury Retrograde palette. However, if you have the option to pick up other dupes, there are other ones out there, so it's up to you. But I think if you have that £5-6 to buy an eyeshadow palette, check out my other Mercury Retrograde dupe videos, because there were better ones than this. That's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here. And until next time, take care of yourself. I'll see you very soon. Bye.